I get scary stories sent from all over the world to me, and sometimes they are from literally where I am, and it jump scares me. And that's exactly what happened in this story. So this story comes from a small town in Southwest Virginia. I grew up in a very secluded rural area down a back road surrounded by the woods. There have been many weird and unsettling encounters, but one sticks out to me the most out of all of my experiences. When I was young, probably around 9 or 10 years old, we were on our way home, and I took a big liking to taking pictures on my mom's flip phone. This was around 2009. We were coming home from the store at around 6 p.m., and we have to drive across very rural 2-lane roads to get home. They're just straight stretches of woods beside the road and a river before we reached the house. Well, I was taking pictures out of the window and ended up taking a picture of something's face and top body in between the trees. I took this when Mom was slowing down because there was a deer in the road. I pointed the camera towards the woods, and then Mom got to an almost stop, and I snapped the picture. I did not see anything with my own eyes in the woods, and I looked at the photo, and my heart sank. It's gray and pale looking. It had a weird long mouth and sunken-in eyes that were pitch black. It was a bit blurry, but you could tell that it had a face from the structure of the jawline and the facial features and the weird-looking nose and odd mouth. It had scrawny top-like shoulders like a skeleton. I can't explain how uneasy I felt after seeing it to the point that I had nightmares. It was lower to the ground like it was probably crouched down or crawling. I get chills talking about this. I don't even know how I snapped that picture. I started getting really bad anxiety to the point that I ended up at the doctor a lot over panic attacks and severe anxiety. My body went cold when I saw it, and I told my mom and dad, and they told me that it was my imagination and to try not to scare myself, because my dad told my mom he had no idea what was in that picture, and it freaked them out. My dad wasn't alarmed by much. My mom wouldn't let me have her phone after that because it scared me so bad. I started having these intense feelings of being watched after that, like I always had to look over my shoulder and just weird things happening. I would see shadow people dart out of the corner of my eye, I would hear stuff and feel things, and doors would open and footsteps would sound. 2 years after that experience, our house burns down. We had to stay in a camper on our land while construction was going on, and it seemed to help some being closer to my family. But the intense anxiety was still there. They were strict about being outside after a certain time and always locked the doors and windows and kept the blinds shut and turned off all the lights. My interest in nature became greater when I got older, but I always think about what that was because it was only like 10 minutes from my house. I still wonder about it to this day, and I'm 23 now. When I pass the spot, I don't look. I keep driving. I'm terrified I'll see something I'm not supposed to. If you see it or hear it, no, you didn't. That's what I live by now. If I had the picture, I would send it. I can try to find it on my mother's flip phone and get it off her phone. If I do, I'll send it to you. It's so scary and haunting. I would absolutely love to see that picture, and I'll even share it, but I'll put a disclaimer just in case you guys don't want to see it, which I totally understand. I appreciate, though, that while your parents were trying to make sure you knew that you were safe and everything, they were also, hello, Pete, they were also taking precautions on keeping you and everyone else safe. Oh, Appalachia's scary, huh? I'm about to read you guys a very scary story, but a warning before we get into it. It is graphic in some parts. There are some things involving animals. It is very scary. This is one that I really do not recommend you listen to at night. It's unnerving. It'll bother you, especially, like I said, the animal parts. I watered it down the most I could, but it was really prevalent to understand how bad it was. Get cozy, maybe turn on a light and grab a snack, because today I have a very long, scary story to share with you guys. I was maybe 13 at the time that this happened. I was visiting my grandparents with my parents at the time. A small village, really small. My grandparents had the house that divided into two. Their side of the house and the side me and my parents were using during our visits. My parents' room was right across from mine, just a hallway between us, and another room that was empty at the end of the hallway. My room, full view of the front yard, my grandparents had this thing, a small garden right outside of my bedroom window. The said garden was connected to the back of the house through a small portion that they would usually use for easy access, not opening the small gate to the garden. However, they would cover it during the summer with tall pieces of wood in order for small animals like foxes or rabbits to not enter their garden. I hope this all makes sense. The story begins one night I was in my bed, nightlight next to me. The room was fully lit, and if I'm not mistaken, I was reading some Wattpad stories, like any other 13-year-old was, with too much time on their hands. That's when I heard it. In the middle of the night, and the silence surrounding me, the wooden piece moving instinctively. I closed my phone and sat in silence. My bed was right next to the window, and I was facing it. A small street light was shining. Before closing my phone, I checked the time, and it said 2:43 a.m. I calmed down in a few seconds as the rush inside calmed down, and I realized it was most likely some animal. Then I heard it. Steps. Heavy steps. Walking. They were walking against the concrete next to the house, from the wood plank to the garden gate and back. a few times. It was just pacing. My first thought was, it's an intruder. And then it stopped. I didn't dare open my eyes. I could feel chills down my spine. I was sweating at that point, and I felt danger. I felt watched. It stayed like that, and I swear I was hearing a male voice humming. I stayed with my eyes shut for what felt like an eternity. Then I heard them again, steps pacing back and forth against the concrete, then the wood plank, and then footsteps far away. I knew whatever that was gone, so I opened my phone. 4 a.m. I looked at the window, and there was nothing. Mom and Dad woke up at around 6. I didn't sleep that night. I went directly to them, and we sat outside. They were having their coffee, and I was afraid. Finally, I told them what happened, and my grandma and grandpa were surprised. The village was small, everyone knew everyone, and nobody knew who would do this. There was no criminal activity in that village whatsoever. Everyone was so kind and friendly. They inspected the whole place, the big area behind the house, the backyards, 3 of them. They used to have a small farm on their property. So you can think of how big this place was. No signs of entering. The wood plank was in place. No footsteps. The next night I was in bed, and I was eyeing my phone again. 2:40 hits, and a rush of adrenaline goes all over me. Same feeling. I close my phone, and then I hear it again. Wood hitting the house. Footsteps. I close my eyes. Same thing. Pacing. And then it stops again. I opened one eye to adjust to the dark, and then I saw it. The streetlight was enough to shine the outline of a body in front of my window, gazing inside. I saw no features, just the dark shadow, messy hair around the shoulders, and big shoulders. It looked like the outline of a man with kinda long hair. I closed my eyes again. I was heavy breathing. I was least to say afraid. 4 a.m. it left again. This time I ran to my parents' room crying, telling them what I saw. My dad left in the middle of the night with just a random object from the house trying to hunt this thing down. Nothing. And then it kept going. 1 full week, same visits. I was terrified to the bone. My parents were asking around the village if someone new came around. No man in the village matched my description. We had nothing. And then it would get worse. I fell asleep that night quite early. I was exhausted, and I woke up to knocks on the window. Small knocks, nothing more. Then as always at 4 a.m. it left. 2 weeks went like this, knocks that gradually went louder, and one night after 3 weeks of pure horror, right before I left, I heard a scream. It was a loud male voice. My name. He screamed my name, and then it left as he always did. I wanted to think I was imagining it, that all of these were products of my own imagination, but Dad came into my room seconds after. He heard it too. The whole house was awake. I was with them, crying as my dad and grandpa left and started looking everywhere. Nobody, no signs of entry. Nothing. The whole day I spent at my parents' room praying and crying. Somewhere around 3 p.m. I left the house, and one of my friends came over to play in the garden. As we stayed there, I was just looking around for anything. Then I came up with an idea. It knows I'm here. What if I leave? My friend lived a few houses down the street, so I asked her, "Hey, do you want to have a sleepover at your place tonight?" And of course she agreed excitedly. Biggest mistake of my life. We went to her place at around 8 p.m., ate something, laughed. Her dad had work in the morning, so we were in her room. Her dad was sleeping at the end of the hallway. We were sleeping next to the entrance. We stayed up late just giggling. I felt relaxed. And then we heard it. At 2:43, the front door was shaking. Then in a few seconds, the dog started barking like crazy. She had 3 dogs outside for protection. Then silence. And now for the next part. 6 a.m. Her dad wakes up and gets ready for work. We can hear him even though we were sleeping. She wakes up before me as we hear her dad in the kitchen. I wake up, but both of us were alert. We couldn't sleep properly. We just kept waking up. Then her dad left the house, and we hear him on the phone talking. He comes into our room petrified. "Did you hear anything last night?" "The dog's barking." But nothing could have prepared us for what happened. Police came. We went outside. Sharp objects covered in a red liquid were all over our property, and in a tree somewhere next to the house. The dogs. I believe you can imagine. It was horrific. We threw up. The police never found the suspect. I stopped talking to her. I went silent after that. It never visited my window after that. 3 weeks of horror and 3 sacrifices. I never told anyone about this, just my parents made the connections. Years after, I still hear my name called when I'm alone at night, and I still see the figure in dark places. I live alone, new city, new job, a full schedule. I leave the gym at 9 p.m. and walk home. At times I hear my name whispered from alleys. I still don't know what this is, but it keeps following me. But whatever it wasn't human. It mimics my dad's voices, my mom's, and it knows my full name. Before you ask, yes, we went to a priest, went to a church, went everywhere to be cleansed. Nothing worked. If anyone knows what this could be and how to get rid of it, I would love this. Listen, I think when it comes to stories like this, it is a good idea to cover all of your bases. I understand something is haunting you. You're hearing your name from alleys, like things don't make sense. Is it possible that that was a person with ill intentions? It's weird. It makes sense on both sides, but for something of that caliber to happen, I'm a little worried it was a person. I know you said no one in the village matched the description. Could it have been someone sneaking in? Like, are we sure that wasn't a person? But on the other side, like, so what I'm saying, this could be two separate things. Like, you could be haunted by something now that's saying names and stuff, and for that, cleanse, get protections on yourself, and wear iron or put iron outside of your property or above your door for that. But for that happening, especially with those animals, and you just seeing the outline of a man, I just wonder if that was a person with bad intentions. Granted, it could be the same thing. They can look like that. They can do that. Either way, cleanse, iron, black salt, protection. Ignore it as best as you can. I am so sorry that happened to you. Oh my God. I'm in need of some advice on a dream that I had last night on what it could possibly mean and the measures that I need to take to protect myself. I have had so many paranormal and spiritual experiences, but I've never experienced something quite like this. I hadn't fallen asleep until around 3 in the morning, and at first I fell into that weird, like, twilight sleep, where you're still kind of aware of your surroundings, but are almost unconscious. It felt like as soon as I fell asleep, I slipped into this really weird dream that somehow felt so real. I was at a random house with a few friends, and we were standing in a kitchen, and I left the room, leaving the kitchen and going out towards an empty room that was probably a dining or living room. I felt uneasy, so I turned around and saw something sitting on a wooden bench in an empty room. I ignored it in my dream and turned back around to see my friend who was also standing in the kitchen. I asked her, "If you're in here, who's in the kitchen with everyone else?" Very bad idea. My friend didn't answer me, so I turned around to walk back toward the kitchen. I still felt super uneasy, just like something wasn't right. I could feel it in the dream, that I was trying to wake myself up. When I turned to walk out of the room, all of a sudden this thing that was sitting on the bench is right in front of me. It has its hands around my throat, very hard. It said, "Listen, you're not going to say anything or talk to anyone about this," in a really weird voice. The voice sounded like it was almost painful to talk. I was trying to scream for help, and I couldn't get any words out. I felt it scratch my chest, and it continued, with its hands around my throat. I was trying to wake myself up, and when I finally did, I was drenched in sweat, my blankets and pillows thrown on the floor, which never happened to me ever. I was literally gasping for my breath, and it took me a few minutes to catch my breath, and I just couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. When this thing approached me, it didn't walk or run to me, it just appeared in front of me and was aggressive. It looked almost human, but in an uncanny valley type of way, where you could tell that it wanted to appear human so badly but couldn't. It was very pale, with purplish red eyes and extremely sharp features. Think of a sharp pointed nose, a pointed chin, and eyes almost shaped like cat eyes. Do you have any idea what this could have been or what it could possibly mean? I've never experienced anything like this before. Dreams usually don't stick with me like this, and I've never had an entity physically touch or injure me before. So I don't know much when it comes to dreams, but my, philosophy is always, if you wake up and remember every aspect of a dream the way you just encountered it to me, you're supposed to for a reason. Whether you, actually experienced something or it was a message. So what I'm thinking is, listen, I think when we dream, we go somewhere else, and there's some stuff lurking in that somewhere else. And I think you encountered not something your brain made up, but something else. And when you acknowledged it, it's kind of like when you know you're dreaming and you're not supposed to tell anyone that you know within your dream in case it is something like this. That's kind of what happened. So you acknowledge this thing and it was like, she sees me, I'm going to react accordingly. Kind of like that. Definitely put up some protections on yourself for when you're sleeping, because that is horrific. I don't know if you woke up with any injuries or if you woke up with your throat hurting or your chest hurting because it was scratched, but especially if you did wake up with any visible or just feeling like you were hurting, protections, always. Dreams are creepy. Listen, if you enjoy going on hunting trips, this might not be the story for you to listen to. It's a little intense. It's a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. I go hunting quite a lot in southeastern Texas. I go with my grandpa and sometimes his son-in-law. It was around 6 p.m. and I had just started the fire. Gramps wasn't back yet, he was still out hunting. There were 2 times that we ought to hunt, 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. Then I go at 3 and 6, which is when my Gramps goes. I heard walking on the gravel road and I couldn't see what was causing it. My Gramps drives a 4-wheeler and he goes up, so it couldn't have been him. I start the fire, and I sit and listen. It seems like whatever it was goes away, but after that my grandpa arrives, and he looks scared. I ask him what's going on, and he said that he heard a scream that I didn't hear. I questioned if he was joking, but by the look on his face, I knew it wasn't a joke. He told me to sleep inside of the trailer with my protection, which I never do, but I agreed. And later, after we went to bed, I heard a blood-curdling scream. Then I heard someone walking around the camp, and I've never been as scared as I was then. I said a prayer, and it seemed to go away, but that's my story. I have way more, and this was on the calmer side. Thank you for reading. This story is what this follower believes is a potential run-in with a walker. This video is going to contain some things involving animals that could be upsetting, and it's pretty scary, so listener or viewer discretion is advised. I saw on your account that people share their walker stories with you, and I think I might just have another one to add. I'm 26 and live in Arkansas with my wife in a one-story house in a small open field with some wooded areas. The next town over is about 20 minutes away. We usually only go into town if we need groceries. My wife loves to garden and does it every summer. Well, last year she planted a bunch of stuff like cucumbers, sunflowers, and tomatoes. It attracts all the bunnies, and we struggle to keep them out. The creepy thing about living here is that there's nothing for miles. No streetlights, no houses, no nothing. So at night it's pitch black except for our house and one street light on our road. One night last year in the midst of summer while I was sleeping, my wife is a night owl, so she usually sat in the living room so she didn't disturb me. I was awoken to the sound of something walking on dirt, tapping on the bedroom window, and my TV off, which was odd because I kept my TV on because I got so paranoid at each little noise. Our garden was at the back of our house, so it was slightly close to our bedroom window. It was like the middle of the night, so I know my wife wasn't outside, or if she was, she would have woken me up and told me. Like I said, we live in the middle of nowhere, so it was rare to see any cars or people. I had this gut feeling not to go to the window. I laid in bed quietly, staring at my black TV. After around 5 minutes, I started to hear something. It sounded like my wife calling out my name. Maybe my wife was outside. I look over at my window, my blinds already open, and I swear I closed them. I always do, even to this day. I never sat up so quickly after what I saw. I saw somewhat of a silhouette of something on its hind legs over the garden, with what I think it was one of the rabbits dangling out of its mouth. I got up and went to the living room and told my wife. Apparently my TV was off because the power randomly turned off and on a few minutes before I woke up, which ran a chill down my spine. My wife is a really brave woman because of some things that happened in her past. So instead of staying in the house like we should have, she went out through the back door. I obviously went behind her. I turned on the back porch light and walked up to where the garden was. I already had a bad feeling, like something was telling me not to go. I swear I wish I never did that or told her. No words can describe how the thing's appearance was. That thing looked straight at my wife and me as we turned the corner of the house. It had white fur, which I confirmed was bunny fur, and blood all over it. We stood frozen for a good 30 seconds. I've never seen my wife pick me up so fast and run. As soon as we got inside, we locked all doors and windows and closed all the blinds. Before we closed the blinds in our room, we both looked out. Instead of that thing staying put or disappearing, it was walking closer to the window. My wife closed the blinds instantly. After a few minutes, we opened them back up, and it was gone. After the next few days, we sat in bed together at night, and I heard what was tapping on each window and loud chewing. I got someone in the daytime to cleanse the house, but it seemed to only keep that thing at bay, making the tapping stop for a week and then come back even louder. Luckily, me and my wife got an opportunity to go to Japan for a week, and she told her sister to come by the house and take care of the garden only in the middle of the day. But when we got back, all of our plants were rotting, had an unbelievable smell that led to the driveway. We asked her sister if she looked after it like we asked, and she said she did. She even kept a timestamp with photos in her notes app of the garden since she knew how much my wife loved it. After that, my wife decided this year that she was only going to plant flowers next to the front of the house. Ever since that night, my wife stays in bed with me every night. I don't care if she's on her phone, painting, calling someone, or whatever. I just put in earplugs or AirPods. I never want to see that thing again. I pray it doesn't come back this summer, but if it does, I'll email about it. My wife said if it does, we might have to move out since it kept me up for months. That is horrifying. I think this video, if they were talking about this summer, it must have been sent right at the beginning of summer, so I am curious to know if you're watching this. I'm so curious to know if anything else happened. I hope not. Everything in that story was baffling to me, but especially the fact that there was like a timestamp log of the garden, but yet everything didn't make it. And the smell, that is terrifying. That is so scary. I don't live anywhere near Appalachia, but I know the rules and I follow them. If you hear something, no you didn't. If you see something, no you didn't. These rules are something I've always followed and always will, especially after this. 4 days ago, me and my family went on a road trip from our little town to Cortez, about 8 hours. The Airbnb was booked and pretty isolated into the woods, being 15 minutes out and surrounded by fields. Everything was fine. We unloaded the cars, picked our rooms, and got pretty comfortable. My mom asked me to go to the store to get some breakfast food for the next couple of days. When I got back, it was dark. I want to say around 9:30 or so. As I'm unloading the groceries, I hear a twig snap. Super normal for the county, but it wasn't like a tree branch falling. It was as if someone stepped on it. I ignored it and kept hauling stuff in. When I walked back out of the corner of my eye, I see a black shadow run past the driver's side of the cart. It didn't just float or whoosh past. I literally saw arms and legs in a running position. At this point, I'm sweating and my hands are shaking, but I ignore it and try to get inside as soon as possible. As soon as I get to my room, I close my curtains and grab a claw clip that I had to ensure that they were closed. Whatever was out there couldn't look inside. A day goes by and nothing happens. After that, feeling watched consistently is what I felt. Maybe it's because I'm the only one who really knows and believes in this sort of stuff. The next night I stayed up playing on my iPad, nothing out of the ordinary for me, I do it quite often. Around 12:30ish, I decided to get up and use the bathroom before one last game. The bathroom was out in the living room area, so I had to walk past windows and everything to get there. I kept my head down and pretended like I didn't feel watched. While doing my business, I heard slow, hard taps on the window behind me. It wasn't like a tree branch, soft and multiple leaves hitting at the same time. This was hard fingertip sounding tapping. A chill went down my spine as I realized that it was probably out there trying to get inside. I ignored it and went back to my room I was staying in. I was so scared I couldn't fall asleep until around 3:30. I'm not sure what it was. Part of me thinks it was a walker, but the other part says it could be something completely different. I'm home now, but I still feel uneasy about it. Could you possibly explain what I saw or heard, and if it could or would follow me? So honestly, that could be several things, and it really didn't do much harm towards you, so that makes me think it didn't really have ill intentions. I don't know why it would follow you. It was probably just like a protector of the forest, like a forest protector, a guardian, whatever you want to call it, just trying to make you aware that it was there. It's still good to not acknowledge things and just let them be. You did good following the rules. That's just what I think it was. Now, you saw a full person, like, running. Are we sure it wasn't a human being? Because people are strange, and if it's out in the middle of nowhere, people sometimes are even more strange. So for one, are we sure it wasn't a person? But yes, let me hear your other experiences, and you should be okay. I don't think, even if it wasn't a person, that anything would follow. But now if stuff starts happening, or if stuff did start happening, this conversation needs to go a little bit differently. Late night drives to the reservation was literally nothing new for these two friends. So they assumed that this midnight drive would be like any other, but they could not have been more wrong. As they're driving through this unusually dense fog that seemed to have come out of nowhere, they pass by a duck pond and happen to both look over at it. That is where they come face to face with a creature that they had never seen before. It had the body of a deer, but it was incredibly too large for that, and it definitely wasn't an elk. Its face was made of pure bone, and its legs were completely just disproportionate to its body. There were antlers coming straight out of the skull. So they drove by this creature and sat in pure silence for 10 minutes until they got back to their house. Neither of them could say anything, and they didn't know the other person had even seen it, so they were just suffering in silence, basically. They do eventually talk about it and figure out that they did see the same thing, and some hikers would actually report this creature on the trail later on that week. So sightings were happening all over from this specific creature. There is a dog man in East Tennessee, and I was sent a story about an encounter with him. So let's get into it. I live in East Tennessee, and my mama also does, which is who raised me. She lives on around 7 acres with the rest of my close family. Well, I guess we should get right into it. I've been stalked by the dog man since I was around 7 or 8 years old. I've had multiple one-on-one experiences with it. It's so terrifying I have PTSD nightmares from it. I had a pretty bad experience back in January, and it has stalked me many nights right outside of my house. It won't come super close, but it stays right up behind a pine tree where I can see its 2 yellow, bright eyes. It'll just watch me, waiting to be caught. I don't go outside alone at all, especially not at night. This thing has made my life hell. I would love to have your help, and I would love for you to share my story. I can try to get a picture of its eyes staring at me through the dark in my wood line. It's there at least 5 days out of the week. Sometimes it's crouched, and sometimes it's on 2 feet standing up. It's around 8 feet tall. It's black and looks like a wolf or a dog mixed with a human at the same time. No one believes me besides a couple of people, and they're the ones that have seen him when he's been around me. So I didn't know we had a dog man that close, and now I am asking you guys, if you live in or have been to East Tennessee, have you had an experience with something that looks like this? Do we have our own dog man here?